Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a very special artist and author interview for the Art of Sherlock Holmes. So we actually have three people dialing in from all over the USA. First, we've got Alex Arshansky. Hi, Alex.
Hello, guys. This is Alex Arshansky. I'm dialing from San Diego.
San Diego, so I'm guessing nice and warm there in California. And we have Charles, Veley, and Anna Elliott, but you're in different places, aren't you guys?
Yes, we are. I'm in Connecticut.
And I'm in Pennsylvania, and it is much less warm here than in San Diego, I'm sure.
Yes, I'm sure.
We had ice in our bird bath this morning.
Yeah, here too. It's like 23 degrees here. We're all jealous of you, Alex.
Yeah.
Well, guys, don't be mad at me. I'm going to the beach in a couple of hours.
Life is unfair.
Yeah, well, no beach in London here, and let me tell you, we had fog. It was actually quite Sherlock Holmes-esque this morning because we couldn't see the other side of the road here in London. I'm just going to move on to a little introduction here of the Art of Sherlock Holmes USA edition. So on the screen for the fans there, you can see we've lifted just five of the pieces from the book. There are 13 traditional Sherlock Holmes stories from some of the leading authors around the world. We have two of them on the line today, matched with some of the USA's best artists. Between them, the artists have got, there are in over 100 museums and galleries around the world, including some of the biggest and most famous like the Smithsonian and the Met and the Whitney. And on the line today, we have a wonderful artist, Alex, and here's a couple of his pieces of art. Alex, tell us a little bit about your style.
Well, hello again. My style is called biomorphic cubism, and what it's mostly about, it's a collection of elements that flow biomorphically into each other and build an image. My art is also known to have stories within stories, where looking deep into the painting, you may find things that are hidden, that are not seen to the naked eye unless you look very deep into the artwork. So it is sort of difficult to explain what it looks like, but it's definitely going to be easy to understand once you see the artwork, what the style is all about.
Yeah, we've got a couple of your pieces on the screen now, Alex, and the main thing that struck me when I first saw your art was it's just so much going on, and it's so colourful and bright.
It is definitely all about color. It's my slogan is, I would like to please the eye while challenging the mind. So the idea is to get you excited visually, but then at the same time, not so much to confuse you, but more to get you into a story with a lot more depth. And if you look at the piece that I have created for the Art of Sherlock Holmes, definitely you will see a lot of little elements hidden everywhere.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to come on to that piece in just a moment. But talking about challenging the mind, we have Charles Veley and Anna Elliott, who are two authors that collaborate together on Sherlock Holmes stories. On the screen, we have one of their first collaborations, The Last Moriarty, and one of the latest, Die Again, Mr. Holmes. Charles and Anna, tell us a little bit about how you collaborate and the style of your Holmes work.
Sure. Anna, do you want to go first? Do you want me to?
Oh, the pressure. Sure. So we have different last names, obviously, but we are father and daughter. I don't know if you said that already, but so I grew up with my dad reading Sherlock Holmes stories to me. They were one of our favorite things to read together when I was a little kid. I think I was, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 when he started reading them out loud to me as bedtime stories, and I just loved them. We both did. We both loved every adaptation of Sherlock Holmes that's ever been in the movies or on TV. We watched the Jeremy Brett series together religiously. Those were kind of coming out when I was growing up. And So yeah, when I started writing, maybe 20 years ago, I guess. Wow, that's a long time. But started writing when I was just out of college and had some books published. And then my dad started writing too. Well, he'd been writing when I was very young, but then got into, his career as a lawyer and all those grown-up things. And but then he started writing again and started writing Sherlock Holmes-inspired stuff. And well, do you want to take it from there, Dad? You can start telling the story of how our collaboration came to be, if you want.
Yeah. Well, we did the last Moriarty. I did most of that. Anna was in touch with it every step of the way, but it's all in Watson's voice. And in it introduces, spoiler alert, everybody, it introduces Sherlock Holmes' daughter, who appears on the cover of the last book and on all the others except for the first two. And what I realized, people like this, and Thomas and Mercer picked it up, and it's got a lot of nice acceptance. But I realized to go any further with this, it would be much better to have Sherlock's daughter, Lucy, have her own voice and tell her side of the various adventures. And so I asked Anna if she would do that. And she said, happily for me, she said yes. So it's been wonderful ever since. And so that's kind of how we came to do it. It was just a simple question. Hey, seems like it's going pretty well so far. But Anna came up with the ideas about Lucy and a lot of the things about Lucy's character and where she was, even in the first book. So even though she's not on the cover with author credit, she really shaped it a lot. And for the others, I mean, I think we have her as the lead author because Lucy has a lot to say, and in terms of the word count, probably more than Watson, but they're about 50-50.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so we just split it. He writes Watson's voice, I write Lucy's voice. In terms of how we do a collaboration, usually I think we kind of take turns. Each of us will have an idea for a plot and for a story, and then whoever had the initial idea will write their half of it and then kind of pass it off to the other person to fill in either Lucy or Watson's half of it. And it's worked out great. I would not have believed. I've never collaborated with anyone before. I wouldn't have thought that it would work, but it's been absolutely delightful. We've just had a great time doing it and a great time coming up with the stories. It's been fantastic.
Well, for me, it's like Christmas morning. I wake up and there's an email, and Anna sent some more stuff, and each of her chapters or whatever she's done, pops with wonderful things and makes me think of other things that go along with it, and it's just a joy.
Fantastic. I must admit, I don't know of any other father and daughter Sherlockian pastiche comedy.
Yeah, we are a little unique in that.
You may be, and we'll move on to the wonderful story, The Vampire at the Lyceum. And if we go back to Alex, we've got the piece up here on the screen, and I must admit that of all of the pieces of the 28 pieces that we've done so far for the Art of Sherlock Holmes, this is probably the one that I go back to the most. So I will pick the book back up and I'll go back and have another look, and almost every time I see something new in there. Tell us a little bit about this piece.
I am actually looking at it right now as well. I often have to tell people a little bit about it because every time somebody comes to visit my place, they look at the piece, and obviously there is an incredible story behind this. First of all, I'd like to say that I've always been a big fan of Conan Doyle, and my very first book that I have ever read was actually a story by Conan Doyle, the Sherlock Holmes story. So it has a very special significance to me.
Wow.
I came to this country 25 years ago from Russia, and as a matter of fact, the Sherlock Holmes stories are very popular. There is a movie that is based on Conan Doyle's stories, and it has unique music, unique style. So it's always been sort of cultural. There's a certain cultural landscape that exists, I guess, around Sherlock Holmes. So naturally, when I got to do this project, when I was offered, I was really excited. You know, imagine going back in time, doing something that perhaps I felt like leaving a mark in history. So I got the story, and I have to say, when I read the story, to me it felt like I was reading the Conan Doyle. It was amazingly written.
Yeah.
The language, forgive me, I am not as eloquent in expressing myself, but when I read it, I was submerged. I had absolutely no feeling that I am reading something written by somebody else. So I don't know if I hope this comes across as a compliment, but I was drawn. Now, what touched me about the story, it was definitely had a little bit more of a modern plot. I don't know how much I can tell about the story, but definitely there's a very exciting plot involving a main character, and the main character gets exposed to things like peyote and ayahuasca.
Yes, yes.
I think it's definitely a very exciting twist that I did not expect. And just a more modern, more open, definitely approach. So when you look at my painting, you will probably see everything that the story has to offer and more. So there are definitely elements that are recognizable. There, we have Big Ben. We have middle of the night. Sort of most of the story happens in the middle of the night, or at least that's where the significant parts take place. We have the main character, Sherlock Holmes. Now, as far as Dr. Watson, there is a character also here, but which I designated to be Dr. Watson, and that's the one that is right next to the pipe. I don't know if you can see right above the pipe, holding
a green hat.
Yes, that's my vision of Dr. Watson. So now, if you look to the other side of the Sherlock Holmes character, you will see the vampire. So I don't want to tell too much about the story, but that's the main character that is never truly, I guess, mostly not alive in the story, but does play a significant role. And you also see Mr. Stoker, and that's what the STO stands for. You have to read the story to understand why we have STO written on her blouse. But the Mr. Stoker is down below, and you can see here, because he is being affected by different substances in the story, some of the imagery actually depicts, I guess, what he sees or what he imagines in his head. So the entire flow of this painting really has this kind of a feel, how does Mr. Stoker feel and what he experiences as he is under the influence of this psychoactive things that he is being given. I hope that gives you a little rundown.
Wonderful.
That's fantastic. Wonderful. And so the concept behind the Art of Sherlock Holmes, which came from Phil Growick, and we'll talk a bit more about him in a moment, was that you have the introduction to the authors and the artist in the book, and then you have the piece of art, and then you have the story. So the idea is that you look at the piece of art, and then you go and read the story, and then you go back to the art. Charles, what was it like seeing your story come to life in this painting?
I was thrilled. The moment I saw it, just at first glance, I thought, "Oh my gosh, he's got the psychedelic aspect of it. He understands that Stoker was forced to take these hallucinogens, and it's kind of a nightmare image that's all these things that Stoker would have been swirling through his consciousness, including even the Lyceum Theater. You can see the big columns there, which has a big piece in Sherlockian canon, and the Satchel of Money, of course, which also was part of the story. And so I was thrilled. I just thought it was beautifully done and very so evoking the spirit of the predicament of the main character.
Fantastic. And Anna, what did you think of it?
Yeah, I think it's amazing. He mentioned the depth, and the more you look, the more you see, and all the clues that you pick up about the story, which I think is wonderful, because when you're writing a mystery, you can't just say straight out, well, and this is the villain or whatever. You have to drop clues so that when the reader gets to the end, they understand, oh, I see where this was leading. And you're telling a story, but you're also disguising what's really going on. That's the art of writing a mystery, and what makes it difficult sometimes is that you have to sort of hide clues that are obvious but not too obvious. And I think the painting is so wonderful because it has that sense of, you're picking up hidden meanings and depth to it as you look at it more and more, which is what you hope for as a mystery writer, that a reader would take away. So I just love that it works on that level as well.
Fantastic. Well, the book was released worldwide a few weeks ago on the 24th of October. The exhibition of the art will take place at the Paul Fisher Gallery, which is in West Palm Beach, and that will run from the middle of December through to the middle of January. I'd encourage anybody, certainly in the Florida area, to get along to the exhibition and see the art for in real life. Before the call, we were talking about how big this piece of art is and how tough it's going to be for Alex to get it over to West Palm, but I would urge everybody to try and get out and see the art in person. If you're not in Florida, you can get your own copy of the painting through authenticated art prints through the Conan Doyle estate themselves, and we'll put a link up for everybody so you can click through to that. The colours are so vibrant. We've tried to capture it as much as we can in the book, but certainly if the previous pieces, which from what the first book one, which I saw in May this year, if it's anything to go by, seeing them face to face when you're standing in front of the actual painting, I would love to see this one in person, Alex. It's one of my favorite pieces.
Trust me, it has. Unfortunately, the book does not carry the full impact. Yes, you have to see it in person.
Oh boy,
it was quite amazing in person comparatively. But even in the book, I think it does carry the message and the tone, and I'm very excited that people will be able to see it in person. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you very much, guys. Have a wonderful Saturday.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you. We loved speaking with you, and Alex. It was such a thrill to hear what was going on in your mind as you did this, and how we were all in the same wavelength. It was really great.
We definitely were. Thank you so much, guys, for presenting me with this option in my life to complete something I wanted to do. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.